Good evening. Guess what? It's that time. We are just late. And you know, when we're late, who is to be blamed, right? My makeup artist and everyone. Let me fix my tie because it's a packed program we have this evening. We're going to rock and roll for 1 hour where we'll bring all the news and information to you. So let your friends know, let everyone know that we are on. It's about that time. Straight Up is on. And what we do here, I want you to understand me. What we do here on 107.1 FM is serious business, a serious radio talk show. That's what we do here. Well, this evening we have some special guests. We're going to deal, first of all, I know all of you want to deal with the 7%, right? We're not going to deal with that just yet. There's an attorney with us. I want to talk with her. She's based out in Brooklyn. And here's why I want to talk with her in the event that you guys need some sort of legal work done. This is one of the best attorneys out there in Brooklyn, in New York. You've got to hear about her story. When I say her story, her practice, but we'll be right back. So do share the link and spread the word. We'll be right back. And plus we have David Hines with us tonight too. Dr. David Hines is also with us. Elson Lowe is with us as well. We're ready for business. We'll be right back.
She put a pot on she hair and gone. Them a the first one out on the dam. Basket on she head, bucket in each hand. Hold up on she frock, I wanna she grandson. To the market, them a go. For the morning, the day is dawning. For cockacrow to give the villagers a warning. Rise and shine, the birds them a sing. All animal take turn as them join in the waking. Cockacrow, dagabag, donkey, bray, horse, and they even duck a quack. Cockacrow, dagabag, donkey, bray, horse, and they even duck a quack. Come and hear this sweet story that tell the people about life in the country. All day a back down, me now a come home. Inaga, jackass yard for fetchy load. Cockle shy hand, bag over shoulder, running by his side, a Rexy and Rover.
If you are looking to have your statutory declaration, affidavit of income, identity, damage or lost passport, lost license, tenancy agreement, agreement of settlement, power of attorney, last will and testament, and certification of documents, then you need to visit the Alistair Collins firm, located at the Killian Mall, 162 Lamaha Street in Georgetown, between Camp and Waterloo Street. Alistair Collins is a commissioner of oaths and a justice of the peace. Make certain you visit him or call for more information at 649-6410 or 685-6448 or 503-1451. And there's adequate parking available. Go down to the Alistair Collins firm and have all of your legal issues settled and brought to the fore. Alistair Collins Firm. Contact them at Alistair Collins Firm.
It's an eco-friendly Christmas. The Guyana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union is pleased to present our annual Christmas promotion, commencing November 1st, 2021 and concludes December 17, 2021. The credit union recognizes and acknowledges the importance of minimizing our carbon footprint and has tailored this year's promotion to suit by presenting our members with an electric car and bikes, which will undoubtedly raise awareness and help our members to adopt. To participate, one must be a member of the Guyana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union, must like and follow the credit union's Facebook page, must have an existing loan with the credit union, must be in good standing with the credit union, must not be an immediate family member of any staff or committee member, must earn a gross of less than $150,000 monthly, and proof of this fact must be attached. And only one coupon is allowed per member. It's an eco-friendly Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
What is the difference between the ordinary thief and a political thief? Number one, the ordinary thief steals your money, your bag, your watch, and your jewelry, isn't it? But the political thief steals your future, your career, your education, your health, and your business. Number two, the hilarious part is that the ordinary thief will choose whom to rob. But you are the one who choose the political thief to rob you. Because we choose them. We vote them. We blindly say we are not blind. Who is deceiving who? The ridiculous part of the whole issue is that we will fight to defend and protect our belongings from the ordinary thief. Is it not? But we fight each other to defend and protect the political thief. Is that not what we do? Thugs will be fighting themselves to protect those that are stealing our career, stealing our joy, stealing our health, stealing our success. What a shame. What a travesty. It calls for us to think and think deep. The stage we are in as a country is not a stage where you become an onlooker. You have become an onlooker for too long. You must get ready to put your hands to the plow and be part of the process. It's not just about PVC, carry PVC. You must be in the kitchen where it is being determined. You must be there where the decisions are being made. We are there in our numbers, they cannot outnumber us. But you leave it aloof. Oh, it's too dirty, it's a dirty game. And then the dirty guy is getting to the game of play. And you are there not showing up. And when they begin to make the decisions, you will know whether it's a dirty game or not. The result is always dirty on yours. Dirty on your health. Dirty on your business. Dirty on your success and your career. I hope that is stirring up something in you.
Welcome to Straight Up. I actually love that video. The political thief. The political thief. Oops. Our operator Lemon has started. I never asked him to show this photograph at all. Please, Lemon, allow me to finish my point. All right? There is no room for mistakes tonight at all. Sorry about that, guys. I was talking about the political thief. Lemon is being mischievous tonight. Mischievous tonight. Please, Lemon, can you stop it and allow me to finish my point about the political thief? Please allow me to finish my point. I don't want anybody to feel as though we are personally attacking them. I'm not doing that. This program is not about personally attacking anyone. And so that guy from Nigeria was talking about the political thieves, the political vagabonds, and what these people do when they get into office. They steal and they steal and they steal from you guys, the taxpayers, all of us.
What is the difference between the ordinary thief and a political thief?
What is the difference between the ordinary thief and the political thief? I think by now you all know that difference. All of you know that difference. Elections time, they're going to come to you, as though one of those businessmen or so-called businessmen driving on Sheriff Street, and they slow down a little bit and they call somebody, especially around 11, 12, or 1 o'clock in the night. You know what I mean by that, right? That is how they treat the people, like prostitutes, or worse than prostitutes. Come elections time, they're going to tell you all sort of things. You could do all sort of things to them. You could hug them, you could kiss them, you could shake their hands, you could get $1,000 from them. You can get $500 from them. You could get $200 from them. You could get a case of beers from them. They're going to run around. They're going to kiss babies. They're going to hug women. They're going to go into the ghettos. They're going to hug you. They're going to tell you how much they love you, how much they care for you, how much you mean to them. That's what the political thieves do. And then they promise you 50% increase. During the last elections, this is what they said to the people, their supporters and others, that we will ensure that public servants get 50% increase. 50% increase. That is what they promised the public servants. Lo and behold, guess what? They're now coming to say only 7% they can offer. What a lie, big thieves, big vagabonds, political vagabonds they are. They don't care about you public servants. They don't give a damn about you public servants. And that is why it is important to listen to that tape with a guy saying political thieves. There's a difference between a political thieves and a real thief. Well, we have a lawyer coming on just now, not to talk about political thieves or real thieves or whatever, right? But 7%? Our guy, Mr. Lowe, is back with us tonight. He's going to break that down for you, and he's going to expose the installed PPP regime. But before we get to that, let us do the 7% dance. We've got it. Should I get up and do the 7? You guys want me to get up and do the 7% dance? No. Let these guys, these youngsters, let them do. And I hope my guests, before I bring them on, they can also do the 7% dance. All of you, do. And once you share the link, we appreciate it too. But get up from wherever you are and do the 7% dance. Let us go. All public servants, do the 7% dance. Let's go.
Chagungun, chaskagungun, teacher, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, assemblyman, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, Peter, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, nyasamuajan, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, sister, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, mami ni one, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, brother, chaskagungun.
That is what I call the 7%. The 7%. We have a attorney with you this evening who's also listening to the program while we're talking. She's doing the just. Should I get up? Do you guys want to see me get up and do that? Yeah, thank you so much, our attorney for the night. We want to talk with her. You guys want me to get up and do the dance for you guys? I don't know. I can do it, Let's do the just-a-doogie. Just-a-doogie. That is what the current regime is doing. They're fooling people. Seriously, they are fooling people. As you all know, this is a serious program, but we've got to expose the regime. Let's do it again before we start talking with our first guest for this evening. Let's do the 7% dance.
Chagungun, chaskagungun, teacher, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, assemblyman, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, Peter, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, nyasamuajan, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, sister, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, mami ni one, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, brother, chaskagungun.
Just-a-dungu. Just-a-dungu. Dungu. Just-a-dungu. 7%? Are you kidding me? These people should be voted out of office almost immediately. Any other parts of the world, guess what? People would have been in their thousands on the streets protesting, man. 7%? A shame and a disgrace. Let us deal with our lawyer first. I hope she can hear me. Good evening to you, Miss Washington. How are you? Can you hear me? Good evening. I'm not sure that she can. Can you hear me, Miss Washington? Can you hear me? Okay, so I'm not sure what is happening, but the attorney cannot hear me for now. Here's what we're going to do. We're quickly going to go. We are quickly going to go to our who's it? Sorry. We are quickly going to go to I'm not sure what is happening. We can't get but there is a flyer that we were supposed to make a public service announcement. Thank you so much. My social worker friend in Guyana is talking about Women's Refugee Guyana. Women's Refugee Guyana. We'll talk to you guys a little more about that maybe tomorrow. But let us go. Let us go down. Let's see if we can get our lawyer right now. Yes. Good evening, Ms. Washington. Good evening.
I'm not sure what is happening. We were supposed to.
Can you hear me now? Good evening.
Make a public service announcement. Thank you so much. My social worker friend in Guyana is talking about Women's Refugee Guyana. Women's
Can you hear
Refugee Guyana. We'll talk to you guys a little more about that maybe tomorrow. But let us go. Let us go down. Let's see if we can get our lawyer right now.
Can you hear me? Good evening.
I still cannot hear you, Mark.
You can't hear me, but I can hear you. We can hear you too. Let's try to see what's happening here. We'll be right back. Just give
Can
me
you hear me now? Good evening. Make a public service announcement.
All right. She still cannot hear me. All right. Let's go to Mr. Elson Little. Always well dressed. I bet you can do that 7% dance. Seriously.
Another time.
Come on. Let's do it, man. Do. Look, this is a serious matter, man. Serious matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we begin with, how have you been, sir?
I've been good. Thank you again for having me on the show. I trust you've been good as well.
I've been great. Can't complain at all. There's nothing that I can complain about. Absolutely not. Well, there's some things I can complain about, but I prefer not to. Somebody's saying that you actually look like my nephew. I don't know. Where these people? Where these people get these things from?
I'm telling you, you can't have two red men in a room, I guess,
And one is better looking than the other. They know who's the better looking one. They know.
Well, of course, that would be you, of course.
Of course. Mr. Lowe, so happy to have you here, sir. Let us begin with these people in the installed PPP regime promised public servants 50% increase. 50%. Are you surprised at this 7% that they're talking about now? 7%?
No.
Explain it to us, please, sir.
Mark, I want to set the stage for this discussion so people understand what really is going on here. Today, this year, Guyana is the 4th fastest growing economy in the world. Last year, it was the fastest growing economy in the world. The nation's income, GDP, has been up 50% in only 2 years. That's the background to this. When we look at the oil price, oil is now at one of the highest prices it has been in several years. We're making money. We've got over 500 million US from the oil and gas industry. Just this year, 500 million from those oil shipments. And now we have a public service that is being offered a very measly increase. But what we need to do is to really help people to understand that this increase is not an increase. Really, it is a decrease. Now, why do I say that? This 7%, first of all, is taxable. And once it is taxed, it reduces to about 5%, right? So we're starting off on the wrong foot. This 7% is taxable. But the inflation rate, the increase in the cost of living in Guyana, is 5.4%. So that means that the inflation rate is higher than this increase in public servant salaries. So actually, public servants can buy less today than they were able to buy before this. And so this increase translates actually to a decrease in public servant salaries on a real basis of 0.36%. Now, if you look at it, last year there was no increase. There was inflation there again. Since the PPP has come into office, public sector wages have declined by in excess of 1%. This is happening in the context of Guyana being the fastest and the fourth fastest growing country in the entire world. What is going on? This is unbelievable. How can you decrease public servant salaries on a real basis when you are the fastest growing and the fourth fastest growing country on the planet? You know, we got to understand that this time in a long time, as we say, we are producing oil, and we're producing a lot of oil. In fact, in a 3-year period, this country's total income, GDP, the amount of revenue we earn will double in a 3-year period. And you mean to tell me that you're going to decrease public servant salaries? Now, that is looking at it from figures, from the perspective of figures. But let's talk about it from the perspective of the average public servant who is punishing under this steep price increase that we're seeing across the entire Guyanese economy. Food prices are up 14%, twice the amount of the increase. Food prices alone. And so when you look at it from that background, this is just punishing poor Guyanese, you know?
It's punishing poor Guyanese, as we all know, but well said, Mr. Lowe. Let's touch on the fact that the regime, in their announcement today, we saw Dr. Ashni Singh, a fellow QC boy like yourself. Actually, they thought that this was actually a godsend, 7% increase. They actually believe that people were going to buy into this. Do you think they really believe that this is a good deal, this is a good package, this is a good increase for public servants?
What I find entertaining is that they seem to think that you can throw out a big number and everyone will all of a sudden think, oh, that's a great number, everything is great. Actual Guyanese are shopping in the actual market and are paying higher prices. You think the Guyanese didn't notice that food was up 14% this year? You think they didn't notice that? You think they didn't notice that rent is up? We've discussed that before. You think they didn't notice that the overall cost of living is 5.4% higher? Let me give you some more context as to that inflation rate. That is the highest inflation rate that we have had in Guyana in over 10 years. The highest. Prices have risen in 1 year in Guyana. The highest that they've risen, the fastest that they've risen for over 10 years. This is a crisis situation. We are coming off of a natural disaster of epic proportions, and we're not getting support from the government. And this is all happening within the context of them making huge amounts of money. Now let's drill down on what a massive disparity this is. Because now, when you look at what's going on with oil, we started this year, January 1st, at around $51, $52 a barrel. It's currently at around $81 a barrel. So we've got, about a 30% increase. Actually, it's a 60% increase in the price of oil over that period of time. It's a huge increase in the price of oil in a short space of time. Now, that increase is passed on to Guyanese consumers because the goods that we consume, those things involve oil production, involve the oil and gas industry. We need fuel in order to power the machines and so on, the electricity that goes into products. That's one of the reasons that products cost more right now. So the inflation in the oil industry is causing inflation across the entire economy. That's one thing. More directly, when you go to the pump, when you fill up your vehicle and so on, you have to pay higher prices because the gas prices have increased. So that's another form of inflation. But again, this time in a long time, because we're producing oil as well. And so as much as the price is up substantially, right? It's up very substantially. We are also benefiting from that. We have made, based off of these increased price, we have made $304 million US more than we would our long-term estimate. Our long-term estimate plans around $50 a barrel, maybe $40 a barrel. It is currently $81 a barrel. So far, we've made $304 million more because of this inflated price. So we're benefiting hugely as a nation, but we are not redistributing any of these benefits across the nation. So as a result, public servants have seen a fall in their wages of 1%. This is crazy. We are allowing huge amounts of inequality in this country because we are not redistributing the resources, even in a disaster scenario, coming off the back of COVID, and where we have extraordinarily high oil prices. This is unbelievable.
Unbelievable indeed. We see Romel is saying that he bought a bottle of gas, Shell gas station, for $4,100. That's $4,100. I don't know, but we have to pray for the people of Guyana. Lots and lots of promises. Before we get to the next question, let me ensure that our attorney is with us and she can hear us loud and clear. Good evening to you, attorney.
Hi, good evening to you, Mark. How are you?
I am quite well, thank you. I'm glad that we have you. Just give us a couple of minutes. I have a couple of other questions for this young man who goes around the place telling people that he is related to me, when in fact, here's a disclaimer that he actually isn't. So thank you. I'm glad that we can hear you now, attorney.
Yes, thank you.
We'll be right back. Thank you. So let's continue here. Have you been hearing, Mr. Lowe, that the installed regime, the PPP regime, they're actually saying that the 50% that we are hearing about, they're actually now claiming that this was a Photoshop. How come they never said anything about this before, that it was actually a Photoshop? They never said anything. Why do you suppose they remain so quiet, but now they're crying out and saying that it was a Photoshop? Your take, sir.
I agree. This is the first time I'm hearing anyone dispute this 50%. And having personally seen the 50% posters myself, I find this to be truly hilarious. I don't understand how, the internet has been exploding tonight because people are saying they saw this thing for themselves and now they're being told that it never happened, it wasn't there, it's a Photoshop. And it really is an insult to people's intelligence. I saw it. It was there on Main Street. I think I know where that same lantern post is. So that, I don't know how they can say something like that. But that, of course, I think that's a real stumble because it's just highlighting the huge blunder that this 7% really is. Did they really think that they could get away with people 7% when inflation is so high, 5.5%?
These vagabonds, they believe that they can fool people, these political vagabonds. Look, I tell you what, Mr. Lowe, we know that they're watching. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Let's ensure then that they continue to watch us because the 7% is a disgrace, it's an embarrassment, it's an insult to public servants and all Guyanese. That is why we'll take a quick break. I notice our operator is signaling me. We'll take a quick break, but we'll give them the 7% dance. So you can do it behind the scene. We'll be right back.
Chagungun, chaskagungun, teacher, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, assemblyman, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, teacher, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, nyasamuajan, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, sister, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, mami new one, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, brother, chaskagungun.
The guy, you notice the guy with the colorful hair, right? You notice the colors, right? You notice I'm not hearing you. Your mic is off.
I was saying, yes, a very colorful display indeed. Yeah. I had to wear red tonight because the PPP has really outdone themselves tonight.
Look, indeed, let's take a break from Mr. Lowe. We don't want him to go anywhere at all. We have this young, talented, and gifted lawyer out in Brooklyn. Her name is Shellon Washington. She's Guyanese. Welcome to the show, and glad that you can hear me. How are you?
Hi, good night again, Mark, and thanks for having me here on your show.
And this is the first time you're on the show. Let me apologize for that song, man. That's our 7% song.
That's okay, Mark.
I'm sure after the show you may want to do the 7% dance. You can do it after the show.
I probably would.
Probably.
I probably would try that.
Miss Washington, give us a brief background. I know you're Guyanese and so forth. You're a lawyer now. You're practicing there in Brooklyn. Give us a brief background as Shellon Washington, which part of Guyana you're from, and the schools you've attended. Go right ahead.
Okay, Mark. So I'm originally from Linden in Guyana, the small town of Linden.
Yes.
I attended 2 secondary schools, Wismer Hill, Wismer Civil City Secondary School, and I also attended Mackenzie High School. And then from there, I went to the University of Guyana. I attended the University of Guyana, the law program there. And I also attended Wood Law School prior to coming to the US. And I also studied at the University of Miami. And I did work for a few years here with various firms in Manhattan prior to getting into private practice. And I was able to merge with another firm, another Guyanese to that. He was in practice for numerous years prior to me taking over from him.
Okay, good. I guess that's a bit of a background. Let me say that it's a plus to hear that you're from Linden.
Yes, I am. I grew up in Linden. I came
doing
from
their thing. Yeah.
Came from.
So you have been practicing. Yeah, you have been practicing. Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. You were frozen for a little bit, but I can hear you.
I don't know what's happening with us tonight. Maybe it's my 7% internet, right? 7% internet. So yes, what area of law you practice, or what are the areas? So let our listeners know, please.
Okay, so I do 4 main areas of law. I specialize in medical malpractice, personal injuries, and I do have some degree of specialization in divorce, matrimonial law, and also tort, different areas of tort. And for those of you who don't know what tort is any sort of litigation that involves a wrong to a person or their property. And I've done quite a few of tort as it relates to real property. So I'm highly specialized in that, and medical malpractice, any form of personal injuries whatsoever. That's my specialty.
All right, good. Personal injuries, tort, also landlord tenants, right?
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. I do landlord tenants also. We do have quite a large population of Guyanese and some Caribbean people who are landlords in New York, and we provide service to those people as well. Just in case, I'll just mention it anyway. My office is located at 455 Utica Avenue, and that is Brooklyn. Zip code there is 11203. And also, if anyone is trying to reach our office, the phone number there is 718-877-3100, 877-3100.
Okay, again, it is the address is there on the screen, 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. Her telephone number is 718-877-3100. Give her a call. If you're a landlord, give her a call. If you're a tenant, give her a call. If you slide down somewhere, slip down, whatever, give her a call. If you've had an accident, whatever, give her a call. If you throw yourself down, I'm sorry, not if you throw yourself down. I don't want to go that route. Don't call her at all. What is it like practicing law, especially out there in New York?
It's quite different from what I'm used to back in Guyana. I'll mention I did practice in Guyana for a little while prior to, migrating to the US. And it's very, very different the way we practice in Guyana from the way we practice here. Here, the rules are very stringent and you have to be highly specialized in your particular area. And it's not easy to just be versatile as you are in Guyana. In Guyana, you could practice many different areas and that's fine. But here you have, we have to specialize and become expert at the areas that we actually know. So it's different in the sense that you're more restricted. And you have to be highly skilled in the particular areas, and everything here is the rules are very stringent. We have rules we have to follow. There's ethical rules also that we're guided by, whereas in Guyana, there's no such things as ethical rules. I guess you just practice in Guyana, but here it's quite different. And, you have to be very careful and you have to be very, you have to pay great attention to details. Fortunately for me, I pay attention to details, so practicing here has been very easy for me. I've made the transition very easily. And also I went to school here, so that made it quite easy versus a person who just comes from Guyana and try to practice here. I also studied the law, the jurisprudence here, so I was familiar. So transitioning from working at a firm to private practice, it was a breeze.
All right. Our lawyer here for the evening. You've got to go out. You've got to support her. You have any sort of legal matter, do give her a call. Her office is located on 455 Utica Avenue. They're in beautiful Brooklyn, New York. Her telephone number, 718-877-3100. It's right there on the screen, right there. Do you do immigration? Because somebody might be asking that.
Well, I do have an attorney in my firm who is more specialized at that. I did do immigration beginning of my career here in the United States. So it's an area that I know, but there's another attorney who works at my firm. He is specialized in handling immigration cases. So if somebody needs an immigration attorney, I'll be able to assist them with that also.
Wonderful. So happy to hear that. Do give her a call once you're serious about a legal matter. She's located in Brooklyn. Her law firm located in Brooklyn, 455 Utica Avenue. I guess that's closer to Linden Boulevard. Where is it?
Yes. It's close to Linden Boulevard, but it's between Maple Street and East New York Avenue. And also, Mark, I just want to mention, my firm is also on Facebook. So you could find us on Facebook, Washington Law Firm. And you could click the follow button and follow my firm there on Facebook.
Washington Law Firm. Lemon, do get a note of that, please. Lemon is our operator. Do get a note of that. I noticed when you mentioned that you practice in terms of landlord, tenants, and all these things, Dr. David Hines, who's with us, he's probably a landlord. He doesn't want to hear that, right? Dr. Hines, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. I'm fine, thanks. Good evening to you. Good evening to your guests, and good evening to your audience. I'm my own landlord, and I'm also a tenant.
You know, Dr. Hines.
Yes.
The young lawyer this evening is actually from Linden, not Buxton. Linden. Linden.
You see, Linden people, if you check them out and you go on beneath the surface, they're either from West Bobbies or they're from the East Coast. So she might well be from Buxton. You never know.
Well, I absolutely have no connection from Buxton, and my parents are both from Berbice.
From Berbice. You see, there I go. They're from Berbice.
Yeah, that's my parent. I'm not from. I was born and raised in Linden.
Yes, but your parents are from Berbice. Linden is
no. Mr. Lowe is from Buxton. Take Lowe. He's from Buxton. Take Mr. Lowe. He's from Buxton.
As much as I'd love to say that in this current context, that's not at all true. My family is originally from Essequibo, Dartmouth Village.
Oh gosh, Essequibo tonight. Okay. Attorney, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. I know you'll be back with us very soon because 107.1 FM will have you time and time to talk about your practice right here on Straight Up and other programs we have. Is there anything you want to say before we go in the event I didn't ask?
No, except for my social media. For those of you who are listening to the program, you could follow me I'm New York Lawyer on Instagram. I'm on Twitter as Chellen Washington, and I'm also on Facebook as Chellen Washington. I must say one thing though, Mark, so I will caution the audience because I don't want anybody to be surprised that I wear more than one hat. I'm an attorney, but I'm also a pastor. So if they see my religious stuff, I don't want them to become concerned that, but I do wear more than one hat. But
That's news to me. You didn't tell me that you're a pastor.
Yes, I am, but that's
And you got me misbehaving with that song and also, holy smoke.
That's okay, Mark. That's okay. So for those of you who are listening and you want to keep in contact with me, I'm on Facebook and then also on social media. And like I said, my firm, Washington Law Firm, you can follow us on Facebook. All right. I'm on Twitter also. I'm on every single social media. I'm also on TikTok. So you'll find me. All right. Thank you, guys. And thanks once again, Mark, for having me on your show. It has been a pleasure to be here tonight.
And it's been a pleasure to have you too. Now you make me feeling so bad about that dance. I don't know. Thank you so much.
Mark. And
have a great rest of the night.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Wow, a pastor. Dr. Hines, Mr. Lowe. Nobody told me anything, but she's an attorney also. Go out and support her law firm. We will be talking more about that. But now that she's gone, let's take a 30 seconds break. We can get right back into the video. Dr. Hines, before we leave this evening, I want you to do this dance.
Chagungun, chaskagungun, teacher, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, assemblyman, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, teacher, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, nyasamuajang, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, sister, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, mami ni one, chaskagungun, chagungun, chaskagungun, brother, chaskagungun.
It's called a 7% dance. That is what the PPP has done to the people. The 7% dance. Can we get up and do it, Dr. Hines? You think we should, or we should wait?
Nah. Any dance we're doing is about 5 times 7%.
The 7%, Dr. Hines, these people, these PPP folks promised the people of Guyana 50% increase, the public servants, 50%. Now look what these guys are offering. A little piece, 7% that doesn't worth much. Your take on that before we get back to Mr. Elson Lowe, sir.
Yeah, I think it's my brother Lincoln Lewis this evening on my program said it's an insult to the Guyanese people, and not just to the public servant, but to the Guyanese people, in the sense that it's a blatant form of discrimination. That's how I would put it. When you consider that the PPP gave other categories of workers, not percent, $250,000, and then you're looking at public servants who have to keep the government going, who have to teach our children, policemen and women who have to protect us, and you are nurses who have to care for us, and you are giving them 7%. I heard tonight that an entry-level policeman, policewoman, take-home salary is $65,000. Well, 7% of $65,000 is somewhere around $4,000. That's a rise. That's the raise that you're giving people. It's really an insult, and I have to say that the PPP has outdone itself. And more than that, it gave that raise not in agreement with the union. It went behind the union's back and throw a little piece of bone at the workers, disrespecting the workers' organization, disrespecting the workers, and disrespecting our intelligence.
Disrespecting the workers, disrespecting our intelligence, went straight to the sugar workers. Some of them, not all, because there's still some who are waiting for their $250,000. So I want our listeners to know that this wasn't easy. They still owe sugar workers. They've robbed the sugar workers. They've insulted the sugar workers. Before we get to Mr. Lowe, listen to this sugar worker from Berbice.
Good afternoon to all my Facebook friends. Today, I am doing this video for my fellow workers to understand that the government of today is not for the working class people. I am saying this simply because all of us are aware that our official from the government yesterday or a few days ago make some announcement, and one of the announcements is to give the severance people maybe $250,000. I have no problem with those giving the severance people money, but my problem is these workers already receive all their benefits, and most of them are working in different estates. End of the day, I have a problem with that. Recently, the agriculture minister says that in order for this industry to survive, we need $1.6 billion. And if this is true, how come this official can come and give out money just like that? This is a problem. Mind you, we at Albion, our estate were under flood condition. Tremendously, workers are suffering at Albion.
Sorry about that. In essence, what he's saying, the unfair treatment toward these sugar workers. Mr. Lowe, take a bite of that first.
Yes, absolutely. One of the things that I think is really worrisome is that you're not seeing substantial moves to move us forward in the sugar industry. We're not seeing any modernization of that industry. We're just seeing us continue along these same lines. And as it's mentioned, $250,000 was just given out for a very flimsy reason, in my humble opinion. But one of the things that is important to understand is that if you took that same amount that was given out, which is $1.8 billion, and you gave some to the public servants of this country, each of them would have been drawing home on this Christmas in excess of $45,000. And so when you have policemen that are only earning $60,000, and you're not giving them anything substantial, when you have apparently $1.8 billion to give away at will, that is really concerning. Don't you think that the policemen of this country, who are battling a crime situation, which is really difficult right now, Guyana is in the top 10 countries for crime. I don't know if people are aware of that, but we are not giving these policemen anything substantial, but we're giving away money, randomly to Gaisuko, just like that. Maybe tomorrow they'll wake up and give Gaisuko more money again, and that's really concerning. Again, this is how you end up like Venezuela. There's no structure. It's just giving away money when you feel like giving away money. There's nothing related to productivity and so on and so forth. One of the reasons that you want to improve public servant salaries is to improve the productivity of the public servants, to incentivize people, and so on and so forth. And that's not at all what we're seeing. We're just seeing money given away for very as I said, in my opinion, flimsy reasons.
Flimsy reasons indeed. Those sugar workers who got the $250,000, it was an extra something. They didn't deserve it because they would have already received their severance package. They did that under the coalition. But yet Barra Jack Jay and these folks in the installed regime rushed up to give them this, something that they didn't deserve at all, because they double dipped into the consolidated nation fund. They basically double dipped. Sorry about that. That is what they have done. Dr. David Hines, the hypocrisy,
the
gangsterism, the falsehood.
I
don't know. Take over.
It's written all over what the PPP is doing. Look, sugar workers, whether the severed sugar workers or the sugar workers who are on the job now, can argue that, look, sugar has been the mainstay of the Guyanese economy for centuries, going way back to plantation period. And that if they get $250,000, what is it $250,000 to give them? Give them all the sacrifices they've made. not, as you've said, it is not that the sugar workers got $250,000. It is that you have double dipped to give them this $250,000, and you have not given other workers anything. But the issue here is that we are not dumping on sugar workers. We're not saying that sugar workers should not get some money, but we're saying give equal treatment to other categories of workers. And when you look at the Guyana workforce and where it's located, unfortunately, ethnicity and race are wrapped up in the workforce. A particular ethnic group make up the majority of sugar workers. Another ethnic group makes up the majority of public servants. So there is a relationship between place of employment or area of the economy and ethnicity. The minute you are going to give one side a whole lot and you don't give the other side, you expose yourself. And any responsible government in Guyana, the first thing you want to do, even if the law does not have what is called an ethnic impact assessment, you should do an ethnic impact and say, okay, I'm sharing out $250,000. What the impact on the Indian Guyanese community? What is going to be the impact on African Guyanese community? What's going to be the impact on Amerindian community? You will notice that, yes, there are some Black people who are in the sugar industry. It's a small minority, 10% or thereabout, if that much. So therefore, this policy is going to benefit one ethnic group disproportionately. What you do then is you say, can I come up with a similar policy for the other big workforce, which is the public servants? So, okay, let me sit down with the public service union. They've been making some demands. I argued when I was in 23 years in office that we didn't have the money. Now, we seem to have money. Oil is coming, I am borrowing on the oil money, so I can't complain that I don't have the money. So let me sit down with the sugar workers, the public service unions, and let me talk about how I can bring them up to where the sugar workers are. That's all we're asking for, and any responsible government in Guyana would have done so. That the PPP has not done so is not a mistake. If we look at their track record, forget about 23 years for the moment, look at what they have done since they've come back to power in 15 months. The pattern is clear. And one doesn't, I don't take, Mark, I do not take any pleasure in pointing out racial discrimination. I would rather be talking about class discrimination or something, because we know nasty race could get. But this thing is in your face. It's in your face. And I think, I'm afraid we have reached that moment that I don't think there's any redemption for this government.
I don't know, sad situation indeed. 55 minutes after 9 o'clock in beautiful Guyana. Mr. Lowe, the consolidated funds and the way that the PPPC installed regime is going and ducking their hands into those funds without any accountability. How do you feel about that, sir?
Yeah, well, absolutely. What we're seeing is a runaway train when it comes to spending. Again, no structure, not a solid justification, no studies indicating why X, Y, and Z should be done, how it will benefit the economy more broadly, and we're seeing spending. I reiterate, this is how you end up like Venezuela. You know, Venezuela has a natural resources fund like us, a sovereign wealth fund, but there is nothing really there. They haven't saved anything. And that's because they have not been thoughtful and structured in the way that they've given away money. You can give away money. There's ways to do that. But you have to have an idea of how you're doing it, what your development outcomes are, what your focus is. You know, a simple thing you could have done is say to sugar workers that you're receiving this money, but you have to show that your children have an attendance rate in school of X number of days of the year and so on, which we've seen done successfully in other countries. You know, and those things, of course, will immediately boost your productivity. You know, I also think that what is sad is that because their intent, or they seem to be intent upon keeping Gaisuko as a vote farm where they can put money and try and get votes, they're shortchanging sugar workers. Because ideally, what should happen is that sugar workers should be transitioning to the oil and gas industry and to other industries that are more productive. It will be increasingly expensive to keep sugar workers at Gaisuko because the wages across other sectors in the economy will rise and those workers will be tempted to go across there. So in order to keep this vote farm going, they're going to have to spend more and more on Gaisuko. This is a disaster, you know, and as a result, you know, it's really going to be a drain on the country in a huge way going forward. We've only just started to produce oil. We've only just started, and we're already seeing random payments of $250,000, boom, just like that. We've just started. Can you imagine if this is going to be the pattern going forward? We have to have a plan to, you know, regarding what we're doing. And this is something that you see a lot with the PPP. Don't have a plan, don't have a plan. I see now that they're restructuring the LCDS, the low carbon development strategy. You know, they're saying that that's going to be their long-term strategy. But my question is, why doesn't this structure already exist? When you look at the gas to shore project, that's another one. They say, oh, we're going to do gas to shore. You're supposed to have a gas utilization master plan as to how you're going to use the natural gas. This is normal governance. What is going on here is madness. And as a result of this, we don't know what direction the country is headed. And it seems to me that the country is headed directly for Venezuela.
Gosh, this is sad indeed. 58 minutes after 9 o'clock, Dr. David Hines, let's go to this. Guyana's oil account now at $534 million. $534 million. Wow. But the taxpayers of Guyana, they owe ExxonMobil 9-point-something billion US dollars. Before we go back to Mr. Lowe, let us get your take on that.
Well, Mark, here is Mr. Lowe spoke just now very eloquently about the relationship between policy and development. At the end of the day, any serious government has to be thinking about policy. Insofar as you're not thinking about policy, then you're talking about chaos, economic chaos, and economic chaos will become social chaos, and social chaos will become political chaos. And the brother cited Venezuela. That is where Venezuela ended up. Here is what the PPP is doing, Mark. It is keeping the constitutional institutions, like the procurement board, like the other constitutional bodies. It is paralyzing those institutions. So when your institutions don't work, the economics of the jungle kick in. You're saying that we are going to spend out of necessity. There's no procurement board, but we have to give contracts. So what you do is you give contracts to your friends and your family. There's no structure. There's no this. Now, those who are receiving those contracts will say, oh, wow, the PPP is helping us. Yes, right? In the end, they will find out that it is not helping them because they are not going to be able to contribute to the development of their communities. And they will ultimately be seen as outcasts. So here we have $534 million in the fund they're sitting in New York. And the PPP is spending like a drunken sailor, as they say. And I suppose a drunk sailor may say, don't insult me by comparing me to the PPP. They're spending. But what they're doing, they're spending against that money that is there. And they're not taking into consideration that that money that's there, we actually owe more money than is there. I'm not an economist, but it's not difficult to see that this is economic madness. You are going to end up with a country that is going to remain impoverished, but impoverished will be hitched to a certain kind of jungle, a certain kind of jungle existence where there are no rules. You just do what you like. It's not smelling nice.
It's not smelling nice at all. We can see it. Even Stevie Wonder can see it. Let's get back to Mr. Lowe. Guyana now has in the bank $534 million. But yet they owe ExxonMobil 9 point something billion, close to 10 billion US dollars. But what the PPP is doing is trying to brainwash their supporters. And look, we got money in the bank, 534 million. But they're not telling their supporters that they owe. And therefore, this 534 million is not going to be spent on infrastructure, schools and all these things, or wage increase or whatever. It's going right back into the pockets of ExxonMobil. But here is what Mr. Irfan Ali is saying. And I want, before Mr. Lowe answer the question, pick up on this. Here is what Mr. Irfan Ali is saying. He's saying that the audit of Exxon's US 9.5 billion will be done. When will this be done? I don't know, man. What the hypocrisy, Mr. Lowe? Take it over.
So one of the things that I think people bring up, which I think is very relevant, is they say that they're going to criminalize non-disclosure of receiving oil revenues, talking about the 18 million sign-in bonus. But this is, $9.5 billion we're talking about here that has not been audited, that could have been audited, and that may contain some really serious losses to the nation. Really serious losses. And I believe that it should be, irrespective of government, it should be a criminal offense for you to allow that to lapse. There are studies that indicate that in Africa, 60% of the capital flight, with money leaving the continent, is through these types of improper fraud and so on that can occur when you do not actually audit, when you do not actually investigate the costs that natural resource companies incur. There's something called transfer pricing, which is where they can set up various different other companies to try and inflate their costs and so on. And obviously, if you do not audit, then you'll never be able to pick up on that. What I find to be really sad is that I was working at the State Asset Recovery Agency, and one of the things that we were trained in before we were shut down is the IDB trained us in transfer pricing, in what to look for when it comes to these types of audits. And we, of course, had forensic auditors on our staff. So we would have been happy to provide assistance to help them to know where they should look and to help to identify any particular fraud. But of course, that agency was closed down. It has not been replaced. And all of the training and so on that the IDB would have imparted to us, has gone by the wayside in that regard. And so it is no surprise to me that they've not audited Exxon's $9.5 billion. I believe that should be a criminal offense. I think that, when you look at how much is lost in Africa and other developing countries due to not monitoring these extractive industry companies, this is really ridiculous. One of the things that the studies also indicate, and people can look these things up, is that Africa would have been fully developed if it weren't for people, stealing money through these sophisticated accounting techniques. We've got to be alert to this, and it makes no sense to have the IDB training people to look out for these types of crimes, look out for these types of problems. Of course, we don't know if they're crimes, but we need to investigate. And then you shut down everything, you tossed everything by the wayside, you don't replace it with anything, and all that expertise is lost. And now you're coming saying, oh, well, we're going to audit. I don't know how they're going to audit without Exxon agreeing that they will allow them to go back and audit these funds. And given that Exxon is, might be the beneficiary of this transfer pricing, might be the beneficiary of inflated costs, we don't know. I don't see a specific reason why they would allow the Guyana government to go and audit them. Can you name some multinationals that will allow that will voluntarily be audited? That strikes me as a big surprise, and so it's potentially a very substantial loss. We're in all kinds of numbers, $1 billion, $5 billion a year, and all kinds of numbers. But the point being that this is one of the primary avenues that a country can be ripped off, one of the primary ways. And for us to not do this, to not audit them, I think is really criminal. And I think that as a country, we cannot allow this to go forward. And, you know, I'll leave you with a last note. Imagine that you're an executive at Exxon, and you're there and you're waiting, and you realize that these people have 1 day left to audit, you know, 6 hours left to audit, 3 hours left to audit, an hour left to audit, and then the time pass and they never audit you. I mean, aren't we embarrassed as a country? What does Exxon now think about us as a country?
I think Exxon already know what they think of us as a country as a result of those leaders or so-called leaders who are there right now. Now, let me say this though. Irfan Ali is saying that there will be an audit. You have already explained that, Mr. Lowe. Following a barrage of criticism. Look, this is a facade. There wouldn't be any auditing at all. This is just to say to the support base that they want to do something. They're not going to do anything. If they do something, guess what they're going to do? They're going to get to some of their cronies to come together and pay them millions of dollars to pretend as though they're doing an audit of ExxonMobil, when in fact they're not doing anything at all other than wasting millions more of taxpayers' money. Dr. David Hines, take a bite at that so-called promise to audit now by Irfan Ali.
Well, I think you're quite correct in that conclusion, but there is the other conclusion, and that is that if you were to do an audit, you're auditing after the fact. And Mr. Lowe will say it's still an audit. He's an economist, I think. But we political scientists will say an audit after the time has passed is really not an audit. As you were saying, it's really an exercise that is meant to throw wool into our eyes, because as Mr. Lowe said, that you may have lost money, you have not audited, and so we don't know. And now the time has passed. Exxon is not going to cooperate with you in audit anything. So you're really just going through the motions for political mileage. Now, some people believe the PPP is incompetent. I do not believe they're incompetent. I believe they know exactly what they're doing. The route that they have taken meant that incompetence will be the consequence of their modus operandi, their praxis. Their praxis is to put politics before economics, put politics before the law, the rule of law, put politics before culture, put politics before every area of life. And once you do that, you end up being incompetent. Because if you talk about policy, the policy has to be laid out, and the policy has to take into consideration the sociology and the politics of the country. But you start with the politics and hope that the politics will give you sense of economics. It will not. It will not. And so I sympathize with some of our supporters who believe that these guys are stupid. They're not stupid. They know what they're doing, right? They are governing by politics. And, Kwame Nkrumah said, give ye first thy political kingdom, and all of the things shall be added unto you. He said that in the 1960s. If Brother Kwame were alive today, he would say that. Okay? We went through the political empowerment in the early days of independence. We had to cut ties with the old colonials. We had to set up our own courts. We had to have our own nationalism. We did the politics in the early days of post-colonialism. Now we have to do policy. And if you was trying to substitute politics for policy, you end up looking stupid, you end up looking incompetent, and you end up throwing all of us down the drain.
Well said, Dr. David Hines there. I was looking at an article of which Lemon should have had up there on the screen. It says PPPC not interested. This is in today's Skytour News. PPPC not interested in good governance oil sector. That is according to Mr. Christopher Ram.
He was on my show last night when he said that. Yes, on Tuesday night.
Christopher Ram.
Ram.
Again, we're seeing all these people who supported the PPPC getting into office are now distancing themselves from the PPPC. Mr. Christopher Ram is saying PPPC not interested in good governance in the oil sector. And I'm sure he meant not just the oil sector, but in general. Mr. Lowe, your take on what Mr. Christopher Ram has said.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we've highlighted the absence of a plan when it comes to things like the Gas Assure project. We've highlighted that they've allowed this audit to lapse when there was no reason to allow it to lapse. One of the things that we must also consider as a possibility, again, we don't know, but maybe a possibility, is that there are some businesses that were front companies that are owned by the PPP that did business with Exxon. And as a result of that, that's how Exxon was able to pass them monies. Now, we don't know that, but that's one way that these types of things could work, and obviously something that would bear investigation, because that, of course, would create a very strong incentive for them not to audit Exxon. I think you would agree.
So then there's a big possibility that this is just a facade. This is something that is fake, that the PPPC, Mr. Irfan Ali, they're just putting up a political front about an audit when in fact they're not interested in an audit at all. Dr. Hines, you're shaking your head.
Yes, Mark, and I think Mr. Lowe, younger man, more agile up here than I am, says it more. Look, the PPP, they're not irrational people. They look irrational, but behind that irrationality, doing some things, as the brother said, they're PPP front organizations. And the young man is cautious, right? I am old enough to be as cautious. They are PPP front organizations who, we are reliably informed, were making deals behind the scenes, and an audit would have skinned a lot of them up. You see, so we are saying that they didn't do an audit and they're incompetent. No, they're not. They're quite rational for the wrong reasons, but rational nevertheless.
Certainly they're not interested in that audit. So, Mr. Irfan Ali, don't fool anybody. Don't fool the Guyanese people. People are smart enough. You guys don't want an audit. It will expose the PPP and the sort of corruption that we've been hearing about with these so-called private sector people, these so-called guardians of democracy, and all these people, massive corruption. So any auditing of that will expose the PPP further. So they do not want any sort of auditing at all. Two more subjects before we go. Two more subjects. And I want Dr. David Hines to deal with this specific one, and then we'll go to Mr. Lowe. I have another question for him. This is what, according to the newspaper, battle lines drawn in search of for chief elections officer. GCOM chair seen as having final say. It's pretty obvious that GCOM chair, the retired judge, Claudette Singh, will have the final say. They put up these names here of individuals. I see Anil Singh. Giddings is there. He has a lot of question marks hanging over his head. He was seen on videotape talking under questionable circumstances, mind you, to one of the PPP operatives. And then there's a Deodat Prasad and there's a Vishnu Prasad. My take is that the PPP is bent on having either Deodat Prasad, Vishnu Prasad, or the third one down on the list is Giddings. The others are not going to make it. They are not going to make it at all. So so once the PPP says they want Vishnu Prasad, and I bet my final 5,000 Guyana dollars that Vishnu Prasad will be that candidate for the PPPC. All of the PPPC candidates are going to go with Vishnu Prasad. The opposition candidates are not going to agree. They may go for either Leslie Harrow or Eugene Petty or Pitty. And so Claudette Singh will have to lean in whatever direction the PPPC commissioners say. Claudette Singh will lean with the PPPC again. What is your take, Dr. David Hines, on this?
Mark, we have reached a critical period, and the headline there I think captures it. Battle lines are drawn. I noticed in another news item, the opposition leader in Parliament has finally said the opposition has lost confidence in the chairman of the Elections Commission.
He actually finally, over 1 year now, he finally said that.
Thank you very much. I was just about to say that had he said that 6 months ago, we may not have been at this time. Again, he's saying that after the fact, both done gonna fall. All right. It is clear that the chairman, for whatever reasons, and I don't impute easily political motives to people. I think people of that experience in the law, experienced public servants, I think there is a rationality to them. But I think I've reached the point, in fact, I reached that point a long time ago, in which I think the chairman has compromised or independence, or some people may say, or independence is compromised. And so if her independence is compromised, then she is going to give the kinds of rulings that she has been given. She has ruled, I can't go back to any chairman of the commission since 1992, Rody Collins, come right through, that has voted so much with one side. I mean, not even Doudnat Singh did that. Certainly Steve Sorvali didn't do that. They didn't vote so much with one side, she has. And I am saying there may be rational reasons, but come on, there is a line between rationality and partisanship. And so therefore, I agree to your conclusion. But let me point this out. Vishnu Prasad was not qualified enough to be a deputy, to be the deputy chief elections officer. Now he is qualified, according to PPP commissioners, to be the chief elections officer. Secondly, look at the opposition commissioners. They must be congratulated. They look at the list and they said, look, we are looking for the most qualified people. And here are some qualified people who are not Guyanese. All right? And given the compromised nature of GCOM, given the partisan nature of GCOM, perhaps if we try a non-national, we're not saying a non-national would have us in the race, but that non-national is not likely to be easily swayed by one side or the other. If there is a modicum of independence, you're likely to get a non-national. So let's give a non-national try. They have nominated 3 non-nationals. And I think we have to tip our hat to them because they are constantly leading the way in possible reforms. First of all, let's take us partisan commissioners out of the interview. Take us out. Now, an independent panel may not be necessarily non-partisan, but at least they will give you the perception of non-partisanship. PPP and the chair said no. Alexander then said, okay, let's do a hybrid thing. Let's have the commissioners plus an independent. The PPP and the chair said no. As we would say in Guyana, we want blood, and yes, that's what they want. That's what they want. They do not want any reform at GCOM. They're not interested in institutional reform. They're not interested in a fair Guyana in practice or by perception. These are people who are political thugs. And if they hid it before, they've now come out swinging and they don't care whether we think they're thugs or not.
Thank you so much, Dr. David Hines there. We just had a little break in transmission there, but point well said. Well said, Dr. David Hines. I know the last time that Mr. Lowe was on, he did say that these individuals should be grilled in Parliament, that the nation can know who these people are, instead of three commissioners on one side, three on the other side, and a decision to be made by in the direction of the PPPC. That's the chair of the commission. Now, let me say this. They ought to be grilled. And I agree with Mr. Elson Lowe, what he said the last time. They all should be in and grilled by all of the opposition. But let us prepare to wrap up. Our operator Lemon is saying that we have just about 10 minutes remaining. Before we go, though, Mr. Elson Lowe, I want you to say to the public, because I saw that you have been nominated for, I believe, Congress of the People's National Congress reform, which is I believe it's what, and also a position in the central executive. Correct me, or is that correct? Vice chair, and also your microphone.
I believe that it's treasurer as well as a position on the central executive.
Okay, sorry about that. Well, why should you be voted in to become a member of the central executive of the PNCR, or even the treasurer? Explain why you should be voting, because maybe a lot of delegates are watching this program tonight. Sell yourself, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity there, Mark. So just a quick sense of my background. I was at Queen's College. I went to Amherst College. I did economics and political science. I then worked at Goldman Sachs, which is one of the premier financial firms in the world. I came back and I was working at the State Asset Recovery Agency. While there, we did a lot of research on the oil and gas industry, on corruption, and on the oil and gas economy, and what we should expect. What I intend to do is to bring a lot of these insights into the PNC so that we're fully aware of the challenges that will come. We've, as a result, been able to keep track of all the things we suspect might be procurement fraud, and how those things will grow as the oil and gas economy becomes a bigger part of Guyanese society. So we're well prepared if we take these insights. We've got several years worth of research there, and I want to bring that into the PNC so we can craft good policy. But that is one of the things that I think has shown me, though, is that we need as much as possible to push a lot of reforms within the PNC and in a national sense. One of the things that I've really stressed to my various other party members when I've spoken to these groups is that, if I once asked 100 people if they could name even one of the MPs that, represented their region, because they're regional MPs, and exactly 0 people could name even one of them. And I think that really is a bit of a red flag in terms of governance. So I think we need to have MPs with offices, with staff, and those staff would come directly out of the parties to do political work. I think that we feel that political work, when it comes to reaching out to voters, getting their opinions, making sure that voters are taken care of and that their concerns are answered, these are normal things that we see in other countries. And I think that we need to see that whether people are in or out of government, we need to see those types of institutions built out. And I think that's something that will really ensure that a lot of people, grassroots people, that their concerns are always tended to, that they're always asked for their opinion, that people are always following up to ensure that they are not neglected by their governments. I think if you have staff whose job it is to really reach out and to inform their MPs better about the opinions of the grassroots people, that will go a long way towards ensuring that, we don't hear this concern that, people are not grassroots, you're not listening to the man in the street. And, I've heard that concern in previous Congresses. So I think that it's something on the institutional national level needs to be done so that we are normalized. The US senators, Congress people all have staff, they have research people and legal people. We need to ensure that we raise the standards in this country. And I think that in raising the standards in the country, we will do a great benefit to the average supporter, both within the PNC and the average voter, because we'll have proper systems in place. That's one thing that I'm going to push for. Another thing that I think is really important is, coming from a financial background, I think that we can do a lot to improve the PNC's finances, number one, and number two, financial literacy. I think the party really needs to modernize its fundraising. I've already submitted fundraising plans, and this gets more to the position of treasurer, to various leadership candidates. I've built out these systems, and they're ready and rearing to go. And in fact, I think that they will result in far more funds being raised than we've ever raised before, which will allow us to compete effectively against the PPP that seems to be stealing left, right, and center. We cannot continue in the same, beg a person for $10 there, beg a business for a few dollars there, and then we never have enough money to really compete effectively with the PPP. It's easy for them to bribe who it is that they want to bribe, to get information, because people in trusted positions are not compensated, and we rely very much on a lot of volunteer work. We need to really restructure this party when it comes to fundraising. There's a lot that can be done. I've submitted plans, and those plans will raise huge amounts. And I've discussed those plans with various party groups, and I've discussed it with the leadership. I think that even something as simple as small dollar donations can go a really, really long way. I think especially from those who are abroad, who I know make up a large part of your audience, Mark. $5, 30 cents a day, 16 cents a day, really small amounts would allow the PNC to raise huge funds and allow the PNC to be much more independent in its decision making and its policy making. This will allow it to really push a lot of reforms that will move the country forward, that will ensure that we don't have any kind of corruption in the country, and ensure really that we're able to marshal this country to move it into the future. And I think right now we're just retreading these same old ways. As I keep telling people, we're, one of the things leveled against the coalition was that it was an exchange, not a change. But what we're seeing is the same PPP from 23 years ago, almost identical, even a lot of the same faces, right? And so I think that in order to move the country forward, we need more independent fundraising, and that is something that is within our grasp. So as treasurer, I think we'll raise more funds, we'll have a better structure in place, and we'll be able to really move the party and the country forward. This is in addition to the reforms I talked about in terms of MPs having offices where party delegates and so on, will probably be working there, to help their communities. And this all of this is now, to close off, in the context of a lot of research that was done at SARA, at the State Asset Recovery Agency, regarding the oil and gas economy, regarding what we should anticipate, and regarding the path forward really for the country. So I think that I've really done a lot of good research. I've presented all of these things to the leadership candidates, but I'm also running, independently, as much as, you may see me on the list of certain candidates, because I want to ensure that we broadly as a party accept these types of reforms, so that at the next Congress, I'm not hearing, we need more grassroots, we don't have money. No, we will be a much more robust organization. And I believe I have the cooperation of the various leadership candidates in ensuring that vision is realized.
All right, well said, Elson. I don't have a vote. I'm not a member of the PNCR. I don't have a party card, never held a party card. But if I were a member of the PNC, a paid member, that is, not just a talk member and support, a paid member, tough. Some other folks are also running, but tough. But you're very impressive, very impressive. I see a lot of people are talking about how impressive you are. And you are running for the position of treasurer of the PNCR. Miss Christine Jones just asked that question. Others are saying if they have that vote, they'll go for you. You're also running to become a central executive, a member of the central executive. One of the things that you left out, though, maybe you missed it, and our listeners should know that for over 1 year, you have been the economic advisor to the leader of the opposition. How has that experience been for you, sir?
Yes, I've been happy to bring forward the insights from the research that I've done and my experience and background in the financial industry. And what I've been doing is crafting a lot of policies that I think will really help the PNC to get back into the coalition, I should say, to get back into office and to really pass some considerable reforms in this country. And so I've been doing, crafting policies, speaking to people, and really helping to provide advice to the opposition, but also to all of the other leadership candidates, because I believe that, whatever reforms, whatever policies I craft, whatever things I work along with other people to create, I believe should be broadly accepted by the party, so that, this is the standard that we're going to use going forward. It's for me, it's never going to be a one-man show. Even as I was appointed economic advisor, I pulled together an economic advisory council, which comprises a lot of people who are at international, multilateral agencies and so on, as well as local experts to really provide advice, and we discuss these issues, discuss policies for the coalition going forward. So that gives you some insight into what I've been doing and what I've really been trying to do from a transformational standpoint within the party itself, with an eye towards how we're going to move this country, into the future. I think it's also just to close. It's always important to note that I think it's a good thing to have young, fresh, energetic faces. I think we need to shake things up a bit. I think we need to have people who are full of hunger and energy, because ultimately this is going to be a difficult fight, and it's going to require a lot of work and a lot of faith, as our local guides would say. But I am very optimistic about the future, because as a result of the research that's been going on for years at SARA, we're pretty well prepared, and most of the things the PPP has been doing have not been surprising at all. And we've already got policies in place that will counteract these types of things that will come up in the manifesto, so long as the party buys into the things that I've been working with them and the leadership to buy into. So.
All right, Mr. Lowe, just to have you know that you got a long plug right here on 107.1 FM. Just give us the address where we should send you that invoice. That's a long infomercial there, and very impressive, I might add. I know Dr. David Hines, the political scientist that he is, would want to comment about what he just heard, but we will probably ask him some other time to comment about what he heard from this young man, this brilliant young man who attended QC. He was also a prefect. He and I had beef when he was a prefect. I think once I took my son and I was late, and he tried to pull me up on that. But he's a good young man. And I agree that young people should become more involved, actively involved in the politics, not just because they're young, because they have ideas and they should have a vision. Because they have some young people who don't have good ideas and don't have good vision, but yet they want to be voted into office. I don't agree with those visionless young people. Dr. Hines, over to you for your closing remarks, please.
Mark, today has been a good day for me. Early in the evening, I interviewed young Sherwin Holder, so a young man that I am very impressed with. And you invite me to come on here tonight, and I'm sharing this panel with another brilliant young man. I'm an elitist when it comes to education and brilliance and articulation. And I make no apologies for that, because our working class mothers and fathers wanted us to be like that. They wanted us to be brighter than them. They wanted us to talk and be more eloquent than them and to make them proud. And these two young men tonight really have rekindled my hope that we can make it in Guyana. Sometimes we listen to words and we don't listen to thoughts. And as I listen to this young man tonight, behind those words are thoughts. And I don't believe you have to be shy about saying when you encounter something that is positive. I will go to bed tonight a satisfied Guyanese, that after hearing these two young tonight, they don't belong to the WPA that I was looking to see if I could, when I hear Sarah say, well, this might come up under Professor Thomas, so we're going to recruit it. But the boys already recruited.
And even if you guys recruit him right now, he would be the 7th member of the PPP.
That's all right. 1 of 7. 1 of 7 is much plenty than 1 of 10,000.
And the number 7 is just like the 7%. 7.
Yeah, but it's a quality 7. Have to.
Let me let you know. Let me let you know that the operator Lemon is actually a member of the WPA, and we don't discriminate.
No, I will take Lemon and Mr. Lowe, and I will have to quarrel with Professor Thomas and say him that his recruiting skills.
Mr. Lowe, watch yourself.
Because he allowed this boy to slip through his finger. You know, I take heart that we may be back in the coalition. We may be back. But anyhow, in all seriousness, I think it's a good young man. I heard, like I said, Sharon Holder earlier in the evening, and I think we're on to something good. And like you, I don't believe in young people being leaders. I believe in good leaders who are young. Good leaders who are young, right? Yeah. And I stress that. So thank you very much, brother, for making an old man go to bed.
Speak for yourself. One old man on this program.
Pleasant dreams tonight.
One old man.
Yes.
One old man on this program, and it's not.
Well, I don't mind. I don't mind. I've already told you that I've accepted my geriatrics.
Dr. Hines, you know, it's always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure. And that is what we like in the political discourse. We don't have to agree on all things political or whatever, but it's the civility is what's important, the respect for each other's views, each other's choice, and whatever. And that is what this program is all about. Young people, yes, and I like to see young people who are vibrant. I like to see young people who believe in social work and have some sort of evidence that they were active in their communities and so forth. And those are the young people that I'm impressed with. That when they're seeking office, I can blindly support them. And I can say, yes, I trust this individual. But I don't want individuals to come and say that they're young and they're educated and then they have to be voted into office. No, I don't trust that sort of thing. I want to see a little bit track record, something that you have done. Something, it doesn't have to be much, but something. Because remember, you can't con the masses. You can't do that at all. Lo, we will leave you with the final word in terms of your closing remark for just a couple seconds. Go right ahead.
Hi. Well, I have to say that I learned a lot from Dr. Thomas, and I'll take a lot of what I learned forward. He and I did not always agree, but nonetheless, it was a good learning experience. And wherever I go, as I said, I try to rely on knowledge that other people have, because I don't know everything. I can only do the best that I can. And I'm sure that as I keep going, I'll learn so much more going forward. But, I just wanted to close off tonight because we've talked about a wide range of issues. But I just wanted to make sure, and this is one of the things that I think we're increasingly going to understand in this country, but we don't quite get yet. This is now an oil country. You cannot have public servants with a real decrease in their salaries of 1%. We've gone over it. The 7% is taxed. The inflation rate is 5%. When you add it all up, it's actually a negative number. Last year, no increase. You cannot be the fastest growing country in the world and then the 4th fastest growing country in the world. Your economy as much as doubling in a 3-year span, and you're not giving people any kind of raise. This is not going to be acceptable going forward. We as a country are changing. We have to understand that this is a new Guyana. And as a result of being a new Guyana, we have to have new standards. And it will not be acceptable for us to have lower wages and worse standard of living after we've got oil. I've previously expressed to you that there are countries which show that if you mismanage oil revenues and if you steal the oil revenues, you can actually see standards of living decline. That's something I've said. You can see that. And already public servants' standard of living has declined. And so we're seeing real warning signs, and we have to, as a nation, step forward and say, these are not acceptable things anymore. We have higher standards, and we have to match our fantastic growth with real improvement in people's lives. Otherwise, the soil will have been for nothing.
Well said, Mr. Lowe and Dr. David Hines. Always a pleasure to have you both on this show. Very informative, very straightforward. I like that. But Mr. Lowe, let me leave you with a little bit of advice. Once this program comes to an end and everybody's gone, watch out for a phone call from Dr. David Hines to attempt to recruit you into the WPA.
No, I know you will get a phone from me to come on to Politics 101 first, and then we'll take it.
Thank you. I know you will do that.
I'll always be open to speaking on any forum and sharing the insights that I've got. Thank you.
And that's what we need in terms of young people getting involved in politics and having the vision and so forth. And young people, I have very little patience with young people who get vexed really fast because you disagree with them. There is no space, no room in politics for that. And once you're a young politician and you get vexed with people and you upset all because somebody doesn't agree with you, you vex and you swell up your face and you go in a corner. I think that person will make a very, very bad leader if they were ever to be elected into any office. That is just my opinion. And so young people who are part of the politics, who are running for office, don't get vexed. Don't swell up your face. Don't get mad, because some of them do. I know some of them, but this is not a place to talk about them or call their names or whatever. But again, gentlemen, thank you both so much. And Dr. David Hines, your program is on from when to when? Take a quick plug.
Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 6:30 to 8.
Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, 6:30 to 8, and they can get you
on Thursday. Monday,
and they can get you where?
Thursday.
They can get you where? They can get you, for those who don't know.
Politics 101 on Facebook or Campy.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. David Hines. Thank you, Mr. Lowe. God bless you guys. Have a great rest of the evening and good luck with your campaign, Young Lowe. Thank you. Definitely. All right. And to all of you, remember, democracy is basically this. No matter who supports who, respect their choice. Respect whatever or whoever the candidate that person chooses to support. It doesn't mean that we've got to take the politics down in the gutter. It doesn't mean that we've got to insult people because they have decided to exercise their democratic rights. Look, someone told me today that they love and respect and appreciate Ganesh Mahipal. And I mentioned this for a particular reason. They said they love all of the attacks that Ganesh Mahipal is doing against the PPPC. Oh, they love that. They appreciate that. But they don't like his choice of candidate. And I was like, wow, what a hypocrisy. If you are part of the coalition or the PNCR and you're talking about democracy, then you must practice exactly what you speak. If you attack the PPPC, and rightfully so, it's being undemocratic and basically want to practice the very things that you are against the PPPC for doing, undemocratic, well, then you're nothing but a hypocrite. And you're practicing the policy, or you're demonstrating the policy of hypocrisy. And that needs to stop. So if there are folks who support Aubrey Compton Norton, then respect those individuals of their choice. Respect them. And those of you who are supporting Aubrey Norton, argue on good policies, argue on substance. There is no need for the gutter politicking. There's no need for the insult and all these things to others who choose to support other candidates. And for those of you who support Harman, yes, Mr. Harman, just so that I let you know that I was in touch with Mr. Harman today, and he has agreed to come on the show, but we have taken a position that he's not going to be on this week. We told him to wait. Now, it is important that I say that. We told him to wait until we can see if we have time next week to. That's just how we do it here. He's prepared to come now. We are saying, no, You wait until next week when we have time to bring you on. That is how we do it, right here on 107.1 FM. But we love to have him on because I have tons of questions for him. And the only place that those questions will be asked in a forceful manner is right here on Straight Up 107.1 FM. All right, and if you support Dr. Richard Van Charles, allow people to make their choices. Allow them to make their choices. It's democracy. Tomorrow evening, guess what? We have a packed program. We have a very interesting program. We'll have 3 guests on. I'm not going to name those individuals as yet, but we have 3 guests on tomorrow. It's going to be fireworks right here on Straight Up 107.1 FM. Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, Guyana time, 9 to 11. This is our morning program, and we're getting better right here on 107.1 FM, which is actually a radio station. You guys don't know, we are a radio station broadcasting on the ground. Christine, Diane, Jones, and others, when you were in Guyana bubbling away and all these things, you guys never tuned into 107.1 FM on the ground? Oh, yeah. 107.1 FM, right? But guess after we started to improve in terms of our programs and so forth at 107.1 FM, the PPP regime sent us a letter now, wanting to see that we are compliant. They want to see our certificate that it is intact. Our certificate is intact. But they never asked that when they give away $347 million to their friends. Those who have never built anything, I'm talking about their friends. And they're not the only ones. Other friends they've given away millions of dollars to. They never asked for compliance and all these different things. They never asked to show what you have done or whatever. But right after we start a nice spanking brand new program, they want us to show our business registration, whether it's intact and all these things. Do you see the hypocrisy in these people? And then what next are they going to do? To say that we owe them? Of course we owe them. But look at the billions of dollars other people owe them. They wiped off billions of dollars for the private sector as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Billions of dollars to their friends and their cronies. But we here at 107.1 FM, we will not give up. And to the PPPC, I want you guys to know this. We will not back down, and we will not be bullied at all into nothing. We will not. 107.1 FM, radio station, is here to stay. Whether the PPPC likes it or not, we are here to stay. And to all of you listening to this program, God bless you. Continue to listen to us. We will be back tomorrow, same place, same time. But don't forget, tomorrow morning, listen to this program. Tune in and spread the word. We will be back again. God bless you all, every single one of you. Have a great rest of the evening. And to Lemon, thank you so much for a job well done. Lemon did a great job. And so we leave you again with a 7%. 7%. Or maybe we shouldn't give you the 7%. Let us give you something that actually will remind you about these thieving, these corrupt politicians in office today. God bless you all. And God bless our beautiful country, Guyana. And don't forget to support that attorney at law, Shallon Washington, a law firm. We will talk more about that some other time as well, right here. God bless you all. That's for you. Listen to the thieving politicians.
What is the difference between the ordinary thief and a political thief? Number one, the ordinary thief steals your money, your bag, your watch, and your jewelry, isn't it? But the political thief steals your future, your career, your education, your health, and your business. Number two, the hilarious part is that the ordinary thief will choose whom to rob. But you are the one who choose the political thief to rob you. Because we choose them. We vote them. We blindly say we are not blind. Who is deceiving who? The ridiculous part of the whole issue is that we will fight to defend and protect our belongings from the ordinary thief. Is it not? But we fight each other to defend and protect the political thief. Is that not what we do? Thugs will be fighting themselves to protect those that are stealing our career, stealing our joy, stealing our health, stealing our success. What a shame. What a travesty. It calls for us to think and think deep. The stage we are in as a country is not a stage where you become an onlooker. You have become an onlooker for too long. You must get ready to put your hands to the plow and be part of the process. It's not just about PVC, carry PVC. You must be in the kitchen where it is being determined. You must be there where the decisions are being made. If we are there in our numbers, they cannot outnumber us. But you leave it aloof. Oh, it's too dirty. It's a dirty game. And then the dirty guy is getting to the game of play. And you are there not showing up. And when they begin to make the decisions, you will know whether it's a dirty game or not. The result is always dirty on yours. Dirty on your health. Dirty on your business. Dirty on your success and your career. I hope that is stirring up something in you.